Okay. Yeah, so pretty much same thing, like the kind of, the routines that we usually have. Mhm. So when we sometimes when we do these things repetitively, our minds gets kind of, what do you say, not very, maybe just go with the flows, and your mind wouldn't be very serious about the meaning of it, because it doesn't matter whoever, since I am just here to actually mainly to remind you of what Dharma is and how we practice, not necessarily to like teach you, like maybe just, it's kind of like that. So anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that whether you know whole lot of philosophy, the philosophy, you should not think of philosophy as some sort of unrelated to the experiential, experiential kind of, for the experiential levels, or maybe for the purpose of when it comes to the experiential, the practice of Dharma. You may think some philosophy are kind of not very useful, but it's not like that. Experience must be driven from that kind of experience must be driven from that kind of philosophical understanding. We call it like usually there's a terminology called, what do you call this? Emotional intelligence, right? So emotional intelligence. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Hope it's a little bit better. So anyway, so if you are not hearing properly, you just raise your hand, or maybe you just say something in chat box so that I will know what is going on in there. Otherwise, I wouldn't see. I will assume that you are hearing it properly. Okay. So anyway, yeah. So since our mind is mind constantly need some sort of, mind tend to lose the novelty in core, so it always needs some different things to try. That's why we have that kind of a tendency. So that's why sometimes you can get that what do you call this, sometimes you could, sometimes some of those practices are not going to make a huge sense. Therefore, we must, when we practice Dharma, even though it's quite repetitive, we must, why it's repetitive? Because the opposite of all these, the applications are very repetitive. So if you don't like repetitions, then just quit the repetitions of the opposite first, and then come to the questions of whether you want to repeat the positivities as well or not. So you have to say to yourself that if you don't like that kind of repetition, then you have to firstly first to take care of the repetition that we have done in our life with the negatives. For instance, in the morning you get upset, and in between you get upset, in the evening you get upset. The same sort of anger is repetitive. Maybe you have found different reasons, or in the morning, whatever the case may be, like whatever the situation that you find yourself in the morning, whatever, like whatever is going on in the morning, maybe you that get upset you, or something is terribly wrong. Why it is happening to me? I'm so desperate, and then I get upset. You you just, because of some situation not working in your way, you just come to the conclusion that because that's why I'm going to get upset. So you actually, it's choice you made. Okay. People tend to say that, oh, it's a human nature, it's naturally get upset, get angry. No, it's not. There is, when you look at the science, when you look at the drops of water, there is a millions and billions of the subparticles. You will find all those subparticles are working so hard and so complex, in a very complexity way, in a very sophisticated way, yet in a very organized way, to make the drops of water what it is. So what drops of water is capable of doing things is because of the subtle the task, the subtle performance, the subtle works that those individual particles have done, and collectively come to that particular drops of water that you may or you may not aware of. So regardless the fact that you aware of it or not, they are doing their job. In the same way, when it comes to mind, a very subtle a single instance of a moment, in a fraction of a second, you can think of something that has a huge kind of patterns to be tracked down. So that's why Dharma is teaching how to track you down that. But in general, maybe on the grosser level, it doesn't make much sense to go deep into that level and check out what is going on there. Actually, too, there's a lot to unlearn and learn things and to discover there. And Dharma is just nothing but just a kind of a very sophisticated and yet very very sort of fine-grained analysis and the establishment of those very sophisticated patterns that are actually underpinning, and that is underpinning the well-beings and the situations that we are end up finding ourselves in. Okay, so it should make perfect sense because I'm trying to find that right words. So anyway, let me check if there's anything in the chat box. Otherwise, I'll be talking to just some of those machines. Okay, it looks like it's okay. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so we mustn't, we mustn't be, when it comes to some of those, intricate natures of those things, some people losing their interest. Sometimes people losing their interest. So in order to generate that interest, we must first need to find out the benefit of knowing it and the benefit of having that kind of knowledge. And that kind of knowledge clearly allows you to see that the fundamental cause of joy, happiness, and fundamental cause of those problems that we find ourselves in, from situations, we always find ourselves in some sort of disappointment, in some sort of dissatisfactions. Why we end up in that? Even though we have we have achieved what we used to adore, what we used to pray for, what we used to, yearning for. Although we achieve some of those achievements, still there is a long way to go to achieve the ultimate happiness that we are always longing for. Well, maybe we are already living that happiness that we don't recognize. So it's not much about it's not much about the situation. Yes, of course, situations make a huge plays a huge roles in our the experience and the happiness, but it is not entirely up to the situation. In fact, as a matter of fact, the happiness is happiness is just mental creations rather than the creations of the situation. So happiness can be experienced without having much material kind of possessions, material prosperity. Material prosperity, for example, in these situations where you find yourself in, you may have to have a certain point, certain kind of certain kind of degrees of the achievement and things, and you just how it comes, how it ended in becoming such kind of the kind of demarcations or the benchmarks, that the yardstick that you make in order to have a happy life. You have to have such kind of achievement should be achieved. Why you made this is because you are making it in comparison with the others, that the environment, the community that you find yourself in. For instance, and if there's a community where there's no this kind of modern technology, all this modern development, modern facilities are not available, then the community is lived in a different way, and in that community, and the level of that kind of material achievement will be different. And once they achieve that particular very limited achievement, then they will be happy with the kind of they can have the experience of the luxuries. It's because you don't have any comparison anymore. So that's why you just comparison. Mentally, you made such a comparison, and then if you don't achieve that, there's a problem. There's a humiliations you might experience, and there's a lots of kind of problems that you create inwardly, and you internalize it, and then you have to chase after what that entails, what that dictates you to do. Otherwise you will never achieve the happiness that you're looking for. So that's why it's hugely depends on the happiness, maybe the way how you look at the situation, rather than the situations allows you to behave in certain ways. So that's why when it comes to the practice of Dharma, in order for that kind of negativities to be eradicated, we need to, there's no magical way, there's no magic wand to make you go enlightened all of a sudden. There's no mantras that can enlighten you just like this. Okay, so if there is, you would probably have been enlightened already, but unfortunately there's no such things. But there are some mantras are very powerful, and they are being taught. They are being taught like having that kind of power to enlighten you or cleanse your negatives, everything like that. But it comes with a lot of conditions that you have even aware of. So Buddha said, since there's a case where that particular mantras work in that particular way, Buddha said, and having that kind of a reality exist, and it can encourage others to do that. And Buddha said he can actually little bit exaggerate that it will it will actually it will actually purifies you from all the negativities, and you can achieve enlightenment merely reciting these mantras. These kind of things were taught. So we call it Sinyit Dembo Mundo. That means interpretive sutras, and which has to have a valid intention, and which has to have a valid reason behind it. So that reason was that which does have that kind of the power to cleanse the negativities, but it comes with a lot of other conditions as well. So anyway, so it has a lot to do with mental position, how you how you shape your mind. If you encourage yourself to do such things, and mind is already been motivated, already been kind of encouraged by any reason, whether it could be a valid or not even valid one, but as long as it pushes you towards the right directions, then it is something that is favorable to be, that is favorable, or that is believed to be favorable to be cultivated. Okay, so like I always said, we always need to have a valid reason, valid kind of validity is quite important, because you should never rely on on something that is not a valid reason, or anything that is not valid, or anything that is not reasonable like that. But when it comes to positivities, we become a little bit biased, like we do bias in the negative way. I cannot do this because such and such things are happening. Attachment, anger, everything is being very, very 99% of them are being biased, because they push your mind, your energies towards getting upset, and then do all these crazy things. You push yourself like that. And if you, for some reason, have a valid reason, or maybe some not valid reason, maybe some naive reasons, and to not to be get angry, not to be get upset, even if someone hits you, do all the crazy things, and you could come up with all kind of positive reasons, even some of those that looks like naive reasons, but still to maintain that kind of calmness of your mind, which are absolutely fine. But that doesn't kind of validates the wrong perceptions, like compassion, loving kindness. All of these are categorized as non categorized as unrecognizing, categorized as not cognitive, but faith doesn't recognize the object. So the wisdom part, like seeing that in dependent originations and the impermanence and all the other wisdom part are actually the believed to be the right perspective, right views that are seeing the right objects. So the text further goes on to give the to illustrate with some examples, like blind person led by the wisdom eye. The blind person, a group of blind peoples were led by one that has a proper eye to see the things. So that one who see the proper eyes to see the things would be the wisdom, and the blind person, a group of blind person, will be the things like compassion, other kind of naivety, sort of naivety is not the right word, but positivity, that attitude of positivity. All those groups of attitude, those attitudes are not based on valid reason, but try to be a little bit not biased. Bias is when it comes to negativity, it's become biased. But when it comes to the positivity, it's not bias, it's maybe strength. You are motivating yourself, you get inspired. So when it comes to that kind of positivity, that group of, but still there are motivational activities of mind, body, speech, but they are not seeing the object, so they are blind. And that blind must be led by wisdom eye that sees the right object. So when you are still in the context of that kind of motivational faith or favorable faith practice, you must realize that what I'm doing is based on not seeing object favorable faith. That doesn't mean that whatever I believe is must turn out to be the truth. Okay, like all the sentient beings, imaginations and visualizations of all this sentient beings become your mother. That is truthful. That is a great wisdom backed up that kind of emotion. So when it comes that emotion, you only looking at the mother sentient being's perspective and try to be a little bit biased about that goodness about other sentient beings, even though he has been, that other person or that other sentient beings have been such a kind of rude for this entire life, but still there is a millions of other life that has been such a good person for you and saviors, your saviors, your kinsmen, what do you call this? Your caregivers and your mothers and your parents and you actually those who actually save your life, give lives to you like for millions of times, and they even sacrifice their life for you many another millions of lifetimes. And now at this turn of the appearances to you, that person particularly become in that kind of ugly way, in that kind of negative ways, that cannot that cannot erase the positivity that they have done for you. That is nothing comparable to the positivities, amount of the positiveness that you receive, that they have provided to you. So you cannot let one cent take over. You cannot let the just worth of 1 cent take over the worth of millions. It's not fair. It's going to be like this. So that's how your minds get trained, and then eventually your mind will be able to see that, because that kind of thing exists. Because when it comes to negative, which is like anger, it says it's absolutely negative. There is nothing positivity in that particular person. That's what anger says, which is absolutely wrong. At least there's something positive. The person might be very rude to many people, 100 people, 1,000 people, but he's been very nice to his kids and his parents and his relatives, and at least to himself, and looking for something that is there, looking for some sort of things that is going to, everything that he has done is actually try to create, try to actually get some sort of peace, some sort of peace for himself, for his kind of happiness. He might have end up doing all these crazy things, and that is oftenly being guided by the wrong perceptions, right? So that wrong perception has played a great role. He himself is not entirely reliable, he himself is not entirely responsible for that kind of particular act. And there is some misconception involved. Misconception has oftenly been produced by his own lack of knowledge, that also has to do with the community and many other stuffs that has taught and that has conditioned his mind in that particular way. So there's no absolute cause that is bringing that kind of negativities to the fore. So what is it? Okay, we don't have any questions yet, right? Okay, so far. Okay, now that's why what I'm trying to say is this, because we need to actually we need to kind of we need to repetitively, maybe find a different way, but repetitively uh, the practice those, those the practice that we have been doing. But we must try our best to make a good use of those repetitive practice, and try to concentrate on the meaning of it. I'm just simply try to, you know, I'm simply try to remind you of those things, not necessarily, giving you some sort of instruction. But myself also try to remember those things. So we try to concentrate on the meaning of those prayers, which are okay. So anyway, so let's do this the recitations of the prayers of that, what we call the phrase of the Buddha's, the remembering the sutra, remembering the three jewels. So yes, there's many other ways, many thousands and hundreds and thousands of ways to remember the Buddhas. There's many scriptures, but these are quite, some of those quite summarized, and it's a quite a sort of very kind of a regular prayers when we do teachings, and also we listen teachings, and we do our on daily practice. This is some kind of like that. So we do this, let's do these prayers, but like as you become more knowledgeable about the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, you just try and put more stuffs in the prayers, even though some of those the words itself directly doesn't actually, explicitly, explain the things, but there's a, you can include it in the umbrella of the implications in this kind of prayers. You just add more and more sort of as you grow, as your knowledge built up, knowledge about the Buddha Dharma Sangha built up, you just add more and more meanings to those prayers, and that's how we kind of practice these. And yeah, so this like I always say that there's a reason for remembering the Buddha's good qualities. It's not like, oh, you are great and that's it. It's not like that. It's not like it's not even like you appreciating God. You just appreciating God and try to make him happy, try to surrender, surrender to God, and be obedient to God, so that he will happy, and then he wouldn't punish me anymore. He will probably excuses me from many other problems that I created. It's it's not it can be done in that way, but it's not like, okay, there's a lot of many cases where you said pleasing the Buddha. Yes, you're pleasing your master. That means you're pleasing your master will generate great merits, and eventually that action must be taking place in your mental continuum. Your karma needs to purify. So Buddha will making him happy. It's created such a kind of meritorious, since it creates such a merits. So that merits can be utilized, that can be used towards the cleansing the negativities. Okay, so Buddha is always be pleased whether you do great things or not great things. And there's many texts also explain this. One who actually tried to kill the Buddha on the right hand, the other one who is tried to be, worship him on the left hand. From his perspective, his compassion is equally goes to both of them. They're both of them going to whether one can receive that blessing or not. It depends on how they are prepared, with receiving the blessings. One good to receive the blessings because the one that received the blessings were able to make a connection, make a proper connection through which blessing transferred. The other one wasn't able to make that, to create that connection. instead he create another connection that creates more negativities. So Buddha himself is, neutral in that sense, but with compassion. So anyway, so that's why remembering the Buddha's, not only his good qualities, making him, pleased towards your activities, but to inspire yourself to become, because there's no way you could become a Buddha. You could become a God in Abrahamic practice. But for us, why you need to get inspirations from Buddha is because you have that Buddha nature, and you will become the Buddha that you are visualizing, that you are praying to. You are going to become that Buddha. So in order to become that Buddha, you need to get inspired from his good qualities, and his good qualities shouldn't be visualized, shouldn't be think of as some sort of absolute or some sort of something that is there from the beginning. Buddha did work hard, and he started from the beginning, and that beginning was the moment that where we are now. So from this stage to the ultimate stage, Buddha actually proceed. Buddha actually proceed with the hard works and the proper meditations and practice. So in the same way, if we apply the same principle, we are going to end up in the same Buddhahood. So that's why we also need to have that encouragement, inspiration, and that entails us to practice more and more, more Dharma and more precisely. So that's the one inspiration you need to get. And other than that, you can actually take not only just that showing the paths to you, but receiving the powers into you. And from the Buddhist perspective, there's nothing like Buddha that is more powerful than, there's nothing like Buddha that is powerful. And Buddha is Buddha cannot be confined to the physical Buddha that we have in our history. But Buddha is more than that. It's much more than that. There's a way how Buddha was explained on the Theravada levels and Mahayana levels and Tantrayana levels. From the Tantrayana levels, even some of those Mahayana levels, Buddha is more on the energy body that has been actually resided in the human forms, happen to be used, the human nice human kind of adorable human body, one kind of nice human body that is called Buddha in the history. But he's the real Buddha, the real enlightenment, real Buddha, real mandala, real enlightened kingdom needs to be built in the dimensions of the energy that we are actually have that kind of, we have that kind of energy natures. We can be looked at from the dimensions of sounds. Every single part of body has a sound. If you change it, the sounds, your physical body changed, your smell part changed, your energy parts change. So what our eyes can see is our physical body. If you fix that physical body, try to make some change in the physical body, the sounds change, the energy change, the smells change. So that's why we can be approached from different sentient beings through different angles, through different dimensions. From the dimensions of the sounds, we can be approached through that. And from the energy forms, we can be approached through that energy forms as well. So in the energy world, there is many different levels of energies, and that one of those settled energy body, dissolutions of all the energy into one settled energy. From there, you rise into energy body. Buddha must be understood based on that kind of energy body. That energy body then move from one body to another body. There's no death for that energy body. And that can be understood, maybe the glimpse of that can be understood with the understanding of the deeper, maybe the dream body, rainbow body, all those kind of stuff. You know, when you die, your dream body, bardo body, will move one body to another body. Even the sleep, even during the sleep, it happens every day. During the sleep, we have our dream body. That body can actually travel everywhere. There's no sleep in that dream body. Like there's no sleep in the consciousness. Consciousness is always conscious. There's no pause in the consciousness. Our body might, stop functioning at some point. We get sleep, we die, but consciousness continuously working, continuously be active. So the energy body. So they goes together. So that's why this kind of energy body doesn't have that kind of limitation, physical limitation. It is limitless, and it also can, if you were practice in a proper way, the dissolutions, all this kind of what has been taught by tantra, specifically, but it is also there are some lot of things that is corresponding, that is related to the Mahayana and even the Theravada, like practice of mindfulness. They're actually looking at the chakras, but mindfulness doesn't look at the chakras, but just sensations inside. That looking at the sensation itself is become a great, from the Tantra perspective itself, is a great practice to concentrate your energies at a certain point, and then gradually, with help of that, the dissolutions of your energy into certain parts, crown chakras, throat chakras, and heart chakras, and navels, and genital chakras, all these kinds of well trained when you practice the mindfulness a lot, breathing techniques, things. So that's where they are preparing for. Your body will then be well prepared to advance to the next levels of the practice. So that's why these practices are somehow being called as preparatory practice. Why it is being called preparatory practice is because there's another tantrayana, higher levels of the energy transformations can be taking place if you are trained in those preparatory practice. So that's why it's become a preparatory. The Theravada Mahayana, Tantrayana must be looked at as a step-by-step practice. Okay, so that's why Buddha doesn't confine it to the physical realms that we usually understood as, but it's way much more than that. And there's unfathomable understanding of Buddhahood from the physical limitations to the unfathomable natures of the Buddha's power, which says that Buddhas exist here and Buddhas exist everywhere. And Buddhas exist in one small atoms, and Buddhas exist in every existential atoms. And every existential atoms fit in one atoms, and that one atoms can be pervaded, can be reached out to all the atoms. So these are some of the subtle understanding. So that's why Buddha is here and Buddha is everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's a Buddha, because everywhere you go, you can think of, we have that kind of the specimen of, or the sample of that can be understood through our just mind. When we can think of everything, we can think of Asia, in China, in US, in Europe, whole universe. As soon as we think of like a Mars, we think of a Mars. We correctly know the Mars, then we think of the Mars. That the moment we think of the Mars, mind actually goes to Mars and with the energy. Why we are not there now is because our mind, we don't have that dissolution of energy, and we don't have that energy to actually go to that kind of hold this energy cannot be being there to be to be there. So that's why part of our energy is already there. as long as mind is there, that mind goes with energy. So energy is already fall there. Wherever you think of, your mind think of something, mind went there and energy went there, and it goes with the sounds. So when you become enlightened, the Buddha, and you were able to actually utilize, all the energies. So that's where whenever you think of something, you are there, you're seen there, and your sound is there. And when you think of there's energy and there's a physical forms there, and there's a sounds there. So that's why mind, body, speech. Mind, think, Buddha's thought, Buddha's wisdom thinking. And mind, body is a subtle body that goes with mind. And speech is the sound that it creates. So whenever you think of something, Buddha is thinking of everything is there. And Buddha's body, the subtle energy is there. And Buddha's sound, speech is there. So that sounds can be utilized in any speeches. So that's why Kusum Tu, Buddha's mind, body, speech, where there is a where the mind is pervaded, where the mind has been reached, his sounds has been reached. Where his sounds have been reached, his energy has been reached. That's why his mind, body, speech reached everywhere. Yeah, so that's how you could understand Buddhas in that way. Energy forms, and can be sometimes riding on, can be sometimes mounted on the contaminated, very limited physical forms that we are actually having now. So Buddha shouldn't be like a confined to that very limited, kind of physical drawbacks. Okay, so that's how we understand the Buddha and Dharma and Sangha. That is Buddha, and the cause that is the cause that bring forth, that cause that it delivers that kind of Buddha, Dharma. Buddha is the Dharma. Okay, and those who are on their way to reach that kind of enlightenment, that who are strenuously, that who are diligently practicing those paths, is Sangha. So you need to have those Sangha community to inspire you, to make that Dharma real for you, so that misconceptions around Dharma wouldn't drag you away from those precious paths, which is one of the greatest hindrance that most of the world is actually under. So that's why we are very lucky to have met with this Dharma, Buddha and Dharma and Sangha, and that's why we feel that we are one of them. Otherwise, we will be discriminated on, because we will be powerless. We wouldn't be motivated. So we need to have the motivation. That is, you get it from Sangha members. It doesn't have to be like nowadays. You can think of your Sanghas anywhere, and you can actually come into contact with them and speak to them. So there's a very, very fortunate to have them, and then Dharma practice, Dharma, of course, the actual path, and the enlightenment. So Buddha, Dharma, Sangha can be understood as the doctor and the nurse and the medicine. Doctor heals prescriptions. Buddha has prescribed something to us, and then the prescriptions was medicine. We have to take it. So we need some of our nurse to actually help us, constantly helping us to do the right things, remind us to do this and that thing. In the same way, the Sangha is trying to remind you to do these things. That's how Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, that's how doctor, medicine, nurses will help you to heal you from the chronic diseases, whatever the disease that is killing you. So, and that way, since Buddha, Dharma, Sangha taking refuge, those kind of understanding beyond just to one of the great master, the teacher of His Holiness Ling Rinpoche said this: initially it took maybe like a whole day to just to meditate on the three words like Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangha. Oh, I take refuge in Buddha, I take refuge in Sangha. Just those 3-4 lines, it took whole day, okay, for him, great learned masters. For him, it took such a whole day. Then after, after familiarizing quite a bit, and then gradually, when you read, you finish reading those lines in about 5 seconds, then that becomes perfect, a complete, only then it becomes a complete practice right there. Otherwise, it takes whole day for him. So that's why just practice with taking refuge and generation of bodhicitta. Just that kind of practice, actually it concises all the Buddha's teachings and condensing whole Buddha's teachings in there. Just to be able to practice them, it takes such a long time. I mean, it requires this whole kind of knowledge or understanding of the Dharma, so that it might be repetitive, the lines are repetitive, but the meaning behind is so deep that that actually cannot be dismissed to some sort of repetitive. So it's a very deep practice. Yet you have to repeat it every time you start practicing Dharma. Yeah, I try to take more times on explaining those things, because I always find we are having a Dharma session. We don't have to rush anything. As long as we are doing some practice, I'm trying to repeat many things, because that's how hopefully it gets stuck in your mind better. And I wouldn't be here for forever, and I'll be gone in maybe 6-7 months. And after I'm gone, then there's no repetition of these things. So maybe you will get another thing. So that repetition, maybe works after I left. So anyway, okay, yeah. So let's do the sutra, remembering the 3 jewels, and I'll try to read it slowly, and just try as much hard as possibly to reflect on the meaning of them, and as much as you understand it, so as much as you are capable of fathoming the meaning of the, those particular prayer, those particular lines. Okay. Homage to the omniscient one, purified and consummate, victorious, virtuous, and transcendent, thus gone, for destroying, entirely perfect Buddha, full of wisdom, the blissfully proceeding, the knower of the world, creator and the subduer of beings, the unsurpassable and teacher of gods and men, such as Buddha, victorious, virtuous, and transcendent. He who is thus gone exemplifies the merit which is his cause. In him, no root of virtue is ever worn away through his manifold passions. He is excellently beautiful. He is the treasure ground of merit, adorned with the token of enlightenment. He is graced with the flowers of the marks of Buddhahood. All he does is timely and opportune, and nothing inharmonious mars the sight of him. True joy, indeed, he gives to those who open up their hearts to him in faith. Through the brilliance of his wisdom, he is unconfounded, and against his power there's no victory. He is the teacher of all living beings, the father of all bodhisattvas, the king of all supreme ones. He is the guide for those who journey to the city beyond the afflictions. His wisdom is unbounded. His assurance is beyond imaginations. His speech is altogether pure, well-tuned, and sweet to hear. Gazing on him, one is never sated. His body is beyond compare. By the realm of desire, he is unstained, and by the realm of form is wholly uncontaminated. He is not mingled with the formless. He is altogether free from misery, and from the aggregates, he is utterly and altogether liberated. The elements have no hold on him. He has mastery over the sense powers. All his bonds are completely severed, and from all pains he is perfectly and totally released. No cravings does he have. He has passed beyond the stream. Perfect is his wisdom, and in the wisdom of the Buddha's past, present, and to come. He has met his dwelling in nirvana, where all sufferings is transcended. He does not abide. His abode is on the summit of perfection, whence he perceives all living beings. Such are the sublime qualities that are the greatness of the Buddha, victorious, virtuous, and transcendent. The sacred doctrine is righteous in the outside, righteous in the middle, and righteous in the end. In its meaning, excellent, and in its words and syllables likewise. It is integral and unalloyed. It is all-sufficing, altogether pure and purifying. Well-spoken is the Dharma by the victorious, virtuous, and transcendent. It is a perfect way of seeing and is devoid of flaws. It is perennial and leads to us onward. To see this Dharma is to fulfill one's purpose. It produces in the wise the wisdom all distinguishing. The Dharma spoken by the victorious, virtuous, and transcendent is shown to be well tempered to the instructions and to the needs of all. It drives one from samsara and calls one to go to perfect Buddhahood. It is free from contradictions, and in it all is summarized. It is to be relied upon totally. It is a cutting of the root. The Sangha of the Mahayana comprises those who have well entered, wisely entered with straightforwardness and aptitude. Right it is to join one's hands before them, and right to make prostrations. They are the glorious field of merit. They are the perfect recipients of gifts. They are the object of offering. Everywhere and always, they are the object worthy of all offerings. Okay. Okay, there's some other prayers. With the pure bodies from supremely pure wisdom auctions, like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the three world, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme science, face like a spotless moon, color like a gold, to you I prostrate, dust free like you, the three worlds are not. Incomparable wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous action. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew, or a bubble, a dream, and a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits, may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the four of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. The four measurables. How good would it be if all beings were endowed with happiness and the cause of happiness, primarily bodhicitta, which cherishes others more than oneself, and the wisdom of dependent originations. May all beings endowed with happiness and the cause of happiness. I will take the responsibility that all beings are endowed with happiness and the cause of the happiness. Please bless me, gurus, Buddhas, and Bodhisattva to be able to do so. Okay. Okay, now the our traditional kind of preliminary practice, the taking refuge in bodhicitta recitation. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment, enthused by wisdom and compassion. Today, in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings for as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain. Till then, may I too remain to heal the sorrows of the world. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain. Till then, may I too remain to heal the sorrows of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to heal the sorrows of the world. After all these explanations, a little bit elaborate prayers, now we are it is okay to read these technically regenerating bodhicitta prayers as quickly as possible. Otherwise, I don't think so. Okay. So, we have a long way to go, right? Still a lot of things to do. We only done the part of the prostration so far. Okay. Cheba, and then now it comes to the offerings. Different types of offering, different levels of offerings. Yeah. From the very general offerings, like offering flowers, foods, music, and the perfumes, and the clothings, to the very subtle offerings, including offering your own body. Okay, so you have to practice according to your capacity. You don't have to try to make sense of some of other strange practice, some of other practice that is strange to you, that doesn't make sense to you. You don't have to try and make sense out of it, but try whatever is available, whatever you are capable of in terms of material, from your material capacity to your mental capacity. So so the offerings here, we are offering the mandala. Mandala offering is offering that has been practiced by both Sutrayana and Tantrayana. So Tantrayana practitioner always try to combine, try to reconcile everything from the Hinayana, Mahayana to the Tantrayana, to even within the Tantrayana there is Lava Tantrayana and higher Tantrayana. So higher yoga highest this yoga tantra also, have be to be have to be in line with the lower tantrayana, and again tracing back to Mahayana, and then again back to the Theravada practice, as simple as practicing the breathing meditations. So it has to be in line with all of them. And Tantrayana, there is more things coming down the line from the Theravada and the Mahayana and Tantrayana. Tantrayana isn't necessarily a separate practice from Mahayana. Tantrayana includes in the practice of a Mahayana, because Mahayana practice is a little bit elaborations of Theravada, and again the Tantrayana is again nothing but a little bit elaborations of the Mahayana practice itself. So all of these needed to be goes together. It's like we call it chungo kana tupa, chumi. It's like I don't know what to call this. Anyway, it's like a source of water coming from a mountain, but down the line it can be comes from the mountain. It's a snow, ice, and down the line it's become a water, and again further down the line it's become an ocean. So, but the same flow of water must be carried on. So, in the same way, same practice of Theravada must be a little bit elaborated, and that elaboration itself is going to going to impact the result of those paths. So Theravada practice usually is actually targeted, is actually aimed at achieving the nirvana. And when it comes to Mahayana, that same practice, but it's been a little bit expanded. And once the cause of the paths has been expanded, the result, the fruit of that path has also been a little bit, there's a little bit changed. That was great enlightenment or Buddhahood. So nirvana is not Buddhahood. Buddhahood is nirvana. Okay, but nirvana is combined with the helping sentient beings with Buddha's good qualities. It's become a great enlightenment. A great. That's why the praise that we just had says that you go beyond nirvana. You don't reside in nirvana. That's why it said he is not mingled with formless. That means formless is also contaminated. That's why there's even within the subtle bodies. Subtle body is formless, but still there is more to go, beyond that. So it says, yeah. So completely severed. In nirvana, where all suffering is transcended, he does not abide. His abode is on the summit of perfection. So 6 paramitas are the actual cause that is responsible for delivering the Buddhahood. 6 paramitas. For just to have the nirvana, as a fruition, you don't need 6 paramitas. You only need understanding of selfless. You see? So there's many ways to categorize Buddhism. Just do great things for yourself, do not harm others. That's one practice that delivers nirvana. And engage in helping others, that delivers that is going to have the fruitions of Buddhahood. But it's not like what we randomly understand. It's not like that. It's more than that. There's a subtle, and there is a sophisticated, and there is a systematic, and there is a step-by-step understanding, and there is what you call this meticulously, thoroughly established path is there. It's like you see. It's like you see the stars. It's you see the zoom out. You see the globe. But when you go out, when you see the map, you see the globe. But you should zoom out, zoom in, you will see the maps, patterns, which route leads to where you want to go. And all these kind of steps are clearly seen after you zooming in. The same way, just general understanding of a loving kindness, the compassion, it's a very, 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 very rudimental understanding of our, what it means to be compassionate, So the Buddha Dharma gone at the deepest level of those, how they were interconnected, wisdom and compassion, all this practice, how it then affects the advancing the paths, how making progress. In making progress with path, and where you want to call this path, at what time, and what kind of levels of emotion has been also measured. So when it comes to compassion, what kind of levels of the measure, what kind of measures is then said to have you landed on the first path? There's a very kind of precisely measured. So you should be able to hit those kind of rings, hit those kind of notes. Yeah, so you should be able to, you should be able to kind of, kind of achieve those levels from where you will then to be called as bodhisattva, or the real practitioner of compassion and loving kindness. So in general understanding, it's just general terms. It's just like any other things. So yeah. Am I seeing some questions here? What was it? Okay, so let's do the mandala offering, and I'll try to remember as much as possibly you can the benefits of this mandala, and I'm not going to explain more here because I've been doing too much explanation of other things. Yeah. Yes, there is a lot of other things you need to learn, but I don't want to go too much details around them. And maybe, yeah, okay. Sanje juda suje junala janjo bada dana jasanjo nage jesu jibe sunam je lola peja sanje loba jo sanje juda suje junala janjo bada dana nage jesu jibe lola peja sanje ndo bore jo lola peja sanje ndo bore jo Saji peja juje me do jang rale ji ni di jen bada sanje jen da mi de po wai Nanda Shin La Chu Pare Sho Sanje Juda Juja Junala Janja Bada Dana Juda 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 and always remember that the motivation, okay, motivation is very important. So having those whatever that we have been reflecting on so far, having those as a background, we need now to generate more, not only for we need to understand the purpose of doing this, right? Is it just to please Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, or it is just to create more merits for you, or what you have to check for yourself, the mind, what mind is thinking. Yes, it is going to create positive energies or great merits that is going to be very supportive for your future lives and this life, the life that is coming, that the positive energies that is going to shift your future kind of all the future kind of whatever that in store for you in future. Maybe some negativities can also be diverted by the power of virtues. So am I going to do this only for my that kind of my well-being and my and good features, or the benefit of the well-being of my future self, or am I just doing it just for both for myself and for all the other sentient beings, or for the sum of other sentient beings that are very helpful to me, that are close to me, or whatever the the sentient beings that are some kind of difficulties to you. So anyway, you mustn't thinking about it to be for you, only for yourself. You must, of course, you can think of this for yourself. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not bad. It's not even against the dharma. It is part of dharma. But in order to make it more meaningful, more powerful, and in order to make it a perfect cause that is going to actually that is going to make you reach to the enlightenment, the ultimate happiness, the ultimate, the achievement of heaven and earth. That is Buddhahood. So in order to reach there, you must have a cause. That cause cannot be created by meritorious actions that is been targeted towards only self. But if it has been shared, then that shared meritorious can become the cause to the enlightenment, because the nature of enlightenment itself is other focusing, other centered practice. If there's no other centered practice, there's no Buddhahood. So as the cause, the fruit must be correspondent with the cause. So that's why it has to have that kind of meritorious, that kind of motivations. The always motivation will change the course of the practice itself. So motivation is very powerful. When it comes from that kind of compassionate motivation, even as tiny as the breathing has become a cause to help other sentient beings. Even the mere existence of yourself, sustaining your life, has become a cause to benefit others, and sustaining your life itself has become a meritorious act in itself. So that's why it has a great benefit to create merits in yourself and others. Of course, focusing others will then actually focusing on others will some sort of affecting their happiness as well, affecting in them in a positive way. So that's it is not just merely and theoretical things. It is more there's a great part of practical things as well, because wherever mind goes, the energy goes. Wherever energy goes, it makes change in wherever the energy goes, regardless of the fact that it may or may not be effective. Being effective or not is different. Is a different situation, different talks. But you have done your part, and it's not say that you have done my part and now I'm happy with that. It's not like that. But you are actually making difference in others. So however you are capable of doing it, you have done it. So that's why thinking about other itself is of physical actions. Okay. So anyway, so that's why you must expand that goal of that. You must expand the object of doing this practice. So on the end of the day, you have to think of how much merit you make out of it, like we do in our daily business, how much you make out of it, and after you're making some amount of money, or the properties or the wealth, whatever you get, and where you are going to use it for. So that's very important. So you accumulate merits. It's same as the money things, wealth things that we physically use in our day-to-day life. That doesn't mean that the Dharma is trying to copy from wealth. No. Wealth has copied it from our nature. And Dharma is trying to address that in nature. Okay. The cause of that wealth doesn't necessarily confined to the monetary and the material. and the underlying natures of those monetary and whatever the value you labeled as are basically underlying the underlying structures, underlying the underlying patterns are mainly governed by the energy. So that energy, the dedications of that energy make a huge difference in that kind of applying the value and become the valuable, become the value of that kind of object and things has a lot to do with their energy flows. That energy flows, you can dedicate it just this life and further than this life, next life, and then beyond that towards until you reach the enlightenment. So if that was targeted, that was actually just aimed at reaching that Buddhahood, then that kind of good energies will last until you reach that enlightenment. From this place, from here until you reach enlightenment, it will last. If it is focused on only nirvana, it only lasts until you reach nirvana. If it has been it has been targeted only for next life, it only lasts until next life. But if it is focused only on this life, it is going to be depleted. It is going to be dissipated after you get what you want in this life. And in between, there's many negativities will interfere, and they are going to also destabilized or disabled. It's going to disabled, or it is going to debilitate the good energies that are very vibrant, can be then compromised, can be then weakened, disabled by those negative energies that are mainly from negative energies that are created by anger, jealousy, and looking down on other sentient beings, and negative thinking around your gurus and your parents, kind of like that. So that's why your motivations must be motivations must be aligned, aligned with that Mahayana practice. You should align yourself. You should align your motivations in a right patterns, in a right paths, in the right way. Dogenanda Shin La Ju Pare Sho Bedabama Ahon Wanjase Jasaji on Bezaraki Ahon Chichara Kuyugi Kuvi Visu Chejaren Kuyugi Kuvi Visu Chejaren Kuyugi Kuvi Visu Chicharan Kuyugi Kuvi Visu Chicharan Kuyugi Kuvi Visu Ri Jaborera Ri Jaborera Sharali Bapo Zambuli no Palanju Chanamani Charlie Babolo, Zambelino Balanjo, Chan Damini, Shirley Babolo, Zambelino Balanjo, Chan Damini, Lutal, Pang, Edamage, Ededalam to Damini, the Dam, Ijida. Boji Gero, Boji Gero, Boji Gero, Boji Gero, Passan the Sing, don't you? Colorumboji, Noborumboji, Zumurumboji, Lamborumboji, Tosong, Colorumboji. Colorembo, Dozonge, Colorembo, Je, Dosonge, Colorembo, Je, Noburembo, Je, Zumurembo, Je, Lamborembo, Dosonge, Colorembo, Je, Noburembo, Tozongen Koloramboje, Koloramboje, Naburamboje, Tumoramboje, Lamboramboje, Tajuro, Lamboramboje, Techemboye, Pumba, Techemboye, Bomba, Techemboye, Bomba, Gimoma, Chama, Dumakam. Techemboye, Bomba, Gimoma, Chama, Dumakam, Metamotama, Nazama, Chama. Nyema dawa rinpoche do chola napa jiwe jansi viso lata me ye penjo pison cho ba ma tsangwa me ba tsangje ye tangwa wa dada. Viso lata me ye penjo pison cho ba ma tsangwa me ba tsangje ye tangwa dada tinje tsawa tang jo pura che pe pa den lama tama nanda chujo je wa sada che pa tanya le shinga bongwa. Tujin do we tundo ye zo zo yin ne jan tata kanya ma jo nangki tata nyan de sinjen tamje la dunye jan sunyi. Kongom ba jo ba sanje ba chinje la de so oi sa je bi je jo je me do da ra le je ni de jem ba de sanje yin da mi de bo wa yin da gwe na da yin la che ba sho oi ba den la me number ta ba la ki ji tang ya lo da me je ji chin je le ba tu me ge je la mi chen la se man ju pa sho chan jo zun jo rom bo je ma je ba da je jo je je wa nyam ba me ba yan ko ne kong do be wa re sho e dang gu ro re na man da ra ka ne ya ta ya mi dang gu ro na ya da ya me chan ze wa dang 学霸级、下八级，你这么大就进下八档，你让我唱一下。Oh my goodness, already 11:30. It's all right. Now, okay, confession. Let's do the confession and then we'll take some questions. Probably today, I'm not going to go with this lay. Maybe we'll quickly kind of review or recap what we have what we have discussed the last session. Okay, anyway, the confession first, and remember that whatever the negativities that you have done in this life or the past life, the millions of other lifetimes, there's no negativities, not a single instance of negativities that we haven't done in some of our lives, you know. So that's why we have done all kinds of negativities, any existential negativities that we have committed are now well acknowledged, and acknowledge them as a negative, as a wrongdoing that has been committed by us, and we have remorse over that, like with that kind of attachment. Out of this attachment, we have attached to our body. Because we have attached to our body, we have always over cherishing. We cherished our body with so much attachment, and that's why we try to protect it. And anything that is feared to be a danger to that body has been criticized, has been looked down on, has been angered on by myself. That's why attachment creates all the problems, all the negativities mentally, and even to the point where I actually, just express those angers in actions, and that's from there. And there's even to the point where you actually end other people's life. You don't want that people to be seen anymore. That's why you end their life, because it is hurting my happiness, because you are so attached to your happiness. So that's why out of this attachment, we have done all the crazy things, all the negative things. Out of that attached to us, attachment towards us, we don't. We want to have. We want to be the. We want to be. We want. We wish to be created. We wish to be respected the best. So that's why other people who don't respect you, you get upset, angry, and do all the crazy things. And if you see some of them having some sort of achievement, you don't like them, jealous, all these are coming from that attachment. And then the attachment towards some other nice things like nice smells, because of that attachment, and physical sensation, nice sensation you attached to, sukda, and nice and soothing music, sounds, and then taste, and then touch. All these five senses that is giving you pleasures has been an object of attachment. And because out of that attachment, you do all the crazy things, should you see some sort of dangers that are obstructing your achievement or your approach or your enjoyment of those pleasures, when they are being disturbed, and you get upset, angry, and you do all the crazy things, depending on the levels of that attachment, there is the levels of angers, So bigger the attachment, the bigger the angers that are disturbing that. And then there's a verbal and a physical negative activities that we have committed, not only just this lifetime, but many millions of other lifetimes, only because of the attachment, anger, ignorance. And because we have ignorance about the karmic causality, excuse me, because we don't know, because we have maybe because we don't have the commitment of that commitment of helping ourselves to keep us from the gravity, how to say, the gravity of that kind of consequences, ramifications of that action out of attachment, killing others, hurting others. Since we are not aware of that kind of same, maybe multiple weight of the pains that you have created is coming back, since we are not aware of them, or even if we are aware a little bit, we are not committed to it. We don't have the depth of that habituations of seeing the cause of that pain, seeing that causing pains to others is going to cause multiple pains in you. And we don't have that kind of understanding, because that ignorance of that karmic causalities, we have come into all the negativities. That's why ignorance has played a great role. And again, the subtle ignorance of self, the mode of existence of self has been mistakenly understood and seen having such a solid attitude, absolute self, which doesn't exist. Because of that understanding, because of that attitude of the having absolute self, is going to exaggerate the pain and the attachment, the anger, everything, and thereby it will translate into actions of verbals and physical. We have created all the negative karmas, and thereby it is led us to all kinds of negative consequences, and still we are experiencing, we are experiencing the direct result of those karmas, and a ripple effect of those karmas are also being experienced by ourselves and communities, and it has also affected the collective, the existence of our environment as well. So that's why there's a huge, unnumerable, unfathomable karma that we have been created. So that's why it is such a great opportunity for us to acknowledge those negativities in front of a Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the right objects, the right field of merits that are listening to us, that are always, that are constant, that are always there for there. They are always there. They are always in business to help us to get away, to cleanse out, to purify our negativities in any possible ways. If our should you have that kind of practice in place, and that like practice like having remorse and determination, not doing it again, and to the right objects, right field of good merits like Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and some mantras and recitations of sutras, and of course the visualizations of great powerful practice like Vajrasattva and much more. So we are very fortunate to have these, the right, the paths have to meet, to have met with such a kind of right paths, to have found this right paths, right ways to cleanse our negativities, and using those remorse, and make sure that this remorse, feeling of guilty, have not become a kind of obstacles to advance, to move forward, to actually inspire to you to do more. It shouldn't, instead of it become an inspiration, it shouldn't become a means to just taking you down. That's why all these needs to be well considered. And to summarize to everything, you must remember all the negativities that we have committed, and we must purify those negativities with the practice of four powers. Okay, so four powers, practice purifications done in the four powers, is that what I'm trying to remind you of. Okay, so that four powers are practiced in association with general confessions, and following that, we are going to do the renew of your precepts. Okay. O great Guru Vajradhara, all other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who abide in the 10 directions, and all venerable Sangha, please pay attention to me with earnest request, with clear reflections. The Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, remembering their good qualities, their compassion, their wisdom, their powers, and you completely trust in them, your faith in them altogether. We are going to take refuge in them. We are going to beseech them to be the object, to be presented, to be present. You feel that the physicality of them, and in the presence, I'm going to admit, I'm going to acknowledge the wrongdoings of myself, and I'll have great remorse doing those negativities, and I'm super determined not doing this again whatsoever, and I'm going to dedicate those those merits for the great cause. Okay. Venerable Fangasa, please pay attention to me. I, who am named Lobsang, circling in a secular existence in this samsara, since the beginningless time until the present, till this moment, since from such a long beginningless lifetimes, overpowered by mental afflictions such as attachment, of course, aversion, and ignorance by means of body, speech, and mind, have created the 10 non-virtuous actions. 10 non-virtuous actions, verbally, all the negative, all this kind of harsh words and negatively, whatever been said, whatever been said that actually impacts others in a negative way, badly way, and verbally and physically, and stealing, killing, engaging in sexual misconduct. And then mentally, wishing bad things to others, jealousy, all these negative thinkings. I have engaged in 5 interrupted negative karmas. 5 interrupted negative karmas, very heavy karmas, heinous crimes, killing mothers, killing fathers, killing sanghas, killing aryas, and destroying stupas, stealing sanghas' properties, destroying monasteries, disrupt the monastics. All these negative karmas, 5 uninterrupted negative karmas. I have transgressed the vows for individual liberations. Individual liberation, transgressed the individual liberations like 10 precepts and 5 precepts. Transgress the vows of Bodhisattva. Transgress the Bodhisattva's vows, like being very having ill thoughts towards other sentient beings. And transgress the samaya of secret mantras. That is mainly to commit negative, even heavy negative, slightest negative thoughts towards Vajrayana gurus and Vajrayana practice, all different types of Vajrayana levels. You are being negatively, negatively looking at deities and negatively thinking of the Tantrayana practice. Your negative impressions on the Tantrayanas, and many more. All this and not to properly follow the Tantrayana precepts. Okay, and I've been disrespectful to my parents, father and mother, and those who are like a, act like a father, or like a stepfather, stepmothers. Those parents, those who are father, mother, who are very, very, very grateful to you, very grateful to you, disrespectful to them. And have been disrespectful to my Vajra masters, of course, Vajra gurus, being disrespectful to them, and to my abbot, those who actually give me the vows, be it like taking refuge, vows of taking refuge, or whatever the vows that you receive from that is your abbot. And being disrespectful to that abbot. And have been disrespectful to my spiritual friends living in ordination. Gendu in Tibetan it was said, Gendu it doesn't necessarily said living in ordination, not in living in ordination, but living in maybe receiving, those who receive precepts have been disrespectful to those Sangha members. I have committed actions harmful to the 3 jewels. Action committed 3 jewels. 3 jewels can be harmed, but it is not. It is disrespectful. It is unfair. It is not respectful from the karmic point of view. So that is harmful to the 3 jewels. Is like stepping on the scriptures, holy scriptures, not being respected in disregard to the holy objects and Buddha Dharma Sanghas, so on. Avoided the holy Dharma, avoided the holy Dharma, like Mahayana is superior to the Hinayana. If you have that kind of attitude, you are avoiding the Dharma, which is one of the heinous crime in the karmic causalities. That is one of the whole avoiding the holy Dharma. And also, if you think, Gelupa is better than Nimapa, or Nimapa is better than Kajupa and Gelupa, that is also avoiding the holy Dharma, which has heinous, which has grave consequences. So you have to be very careful, and whatever you have done, that kind of action or similar to that, or anything that is related to those things, or like not only not necessarily being action done directly, or if it has been motivated by you, or even rejoicing in doing such things are also needed to be considered. Criticize Aya Sangha, yeah, Sangha members, whoever Sangha members, especially those who you received Vajra Sattva, who received empowerment with, are we call the Jipindo Vajra brothers. If you criticize Vajra brothers, you go to Vajra hell. Okay, so that's why respecting the Vajra brothers is a very important. Vajra brothers and sisters. Excuse me, criticizing Arya Sangha. Harm sentient beings, of course, harm sentient beings in any ways. Excuse me, have committed actions, harm sentient beings. And so these and many other non-virtuous negative actions I have done, have caused others to do, have rejoiced in others doing, and so forth. In the presence of the great Guru Vajradhara, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who abide in the 10 directions, and venerable Sanghas, I admit this entire collection of faults and transgressions that are obstacles to my own higher rebirths and liberations, higher rebirth and liberations, and our cause of secular existence and miserable lower rebirths. I will not conceal them. I will accept them as negative in the presence of you, Buddha Dharma Sangha. I promise to refrain from doing these actions again in the future. By confessing and acknowledging them, I will attain and abide in happiness, while by not confessing and acknowledging them, true happiness will not come. And I resolve not to kill. Instead, I will revere all life. I resolve not to steal. Instead, I will understand to take anything without permission or honor is wrong. I resolve not to engage in sexual misconduct. Instead, I will develop the mind of self-restraint and purity. That is from the body, from body. I resolve not to use false speech, and I will speak words that benefits others, foster peace. And I resolve not to use divisive speech. Instead, I will speak words that foster harmony. I resolve not to use enticing speech. Instead, I will speak sincerely and truthfully. That is from your speech. And I resolve to refrain from greed. Instead, I will open my heart and practice giving. I resolve to refrain from anger. Instead, I will see the unhappiness of others and practice passion. I resolve to refrain from ignorance. Instead, I will calm my mind to uncover my wisdom. That is from you. That is from mind. So, physically, mentally, and verbally, 10 non-virtues needed to be refrained, abstain from these 10 non-virtues and cultivate or observe these 10 virtuous actions. So you promise it to in the presence of Buddha Dharma Sangha. Okay. Now let me see if you have any questions. Oh, there's lots. Okay, it's from Owen. Thank you, Owen. Yeah, all the texts are there. Oh, he's like a mage. He has got magic wand. Okay, it's Philip's question. Can you please explain the sound aspect of a Buddha and ourselves further? Okay. The sound aspect, you see, Buddha, you see that this, we recite Chirinsi mantra, Buddha Shakyamuni mantra, Manjushri mantra, Tara mantra, all are Buddhas, right? So they are represented by that sounds. Mantras are not syllable, they are syllable, but they're not physical. They are not physical. They are sounds. Mantras are sounds. So when you meditate on a hum, it doesn't have to be particularly that letter, but something that makes sound hum, ah, the sound. That the Buddha version of that sound. So whenever you become Buddha, there's a particular sound that become your name. So reciting, when we recite Manjushri's, Arapachanadi, or Avalokeswara, we are reciting their names. But it's not like you reciting my name. It's not like reciting Mr. John, Mr. Smith, Mr. Donald Trump. It's not like that. But it's the enlightened version of sounds. So when you become enlightened, your energy become your body, and that energy and consciousness have a sound that's become your Buddha sound, Buddha kind of Buddha sounds. That itself is capable, is not less than the physical Buddha, and that is not less than your mental, the kind of spirit Buddha, kind of like that. So that's that's kind of like that. And there's many more. I mean, like a sound. How then sounds can become Buddha, and how then all this kinds can be further explained through kind of a little bit thorough study of Tantrayana text. So like the concept of basic understanding is like when you have that energy, you see dissolution happens, dissolution happens, and resolutions of all the kind of and the chakras into one, that is become it's become similar to the death process. So when you were able to access all those chakras and dissolve everything into one chakras, that is when the death occurs. If you are practicing, your karma is not depleted yet, still you do that. That is practice. The tantra in the practice, you are accessing it. But it happens one naturally, one with meditation. When you're alive, it only happens when you do the meditation. But at the death, it becomes naturally because of the karmic energy. You are just then be dissolved into one, that kind of, death, what do you call it? Death clarity. No, yourself. Okay. That light, clear light of the death. Okay, clear light of the death. See, the clear light of the death happens only at the death time, but clear light can be accessed through meditation. But in order to access that, you have to be able to access. You should be able to dissolve the energies into one energy, heart chakra. So dissolve into the heart chakras, and when it actually happens, we can practice every day, just to, do, we can do a whole lot of practice. I mean, on a daily basis, we can do that things every day. Then visualization, it starts from your visualizations. And then there's a sudden change a little bit in your concentrations, and then applying it in the right way. And it has to be it cannot be done randomly. It has to be done with a whole lot of consultations with your gurus, right empowerment, and the grosser level of the dissolutions, you will witnessing them. Okay, and then gradually you can go down to the deeper levels, and then there is a subtle dissolution. That when subtle dissolution happens, then you are able to access the clear light. The Buddhahood is nothing but never waking up from clear light, yet you were able to retain the body, subtle body, that is the base of clear light. Clear light, seeing the emptiness. Okay, we have the opposite to clearly to seeing the emptiness is the 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 ultimate absolute nature of the self has been fathomed, has been perceived during those times, and then that creates energy, that creates some energy. That energy can then underpin the structures of the samsara. The opposite to that kind of, self-grasping or, that kind of misconception has become, is through the clear light understanding the emptiness. And that creates another energy that is polar opposite to the energy that is being created by the absolute self, having absolute self view. So that a polar, this kind of polar opposite two things. So that comes as like a direct opposite to the samsara. That's how one goes to one energy become a samsara, another energy become a nirvana, not just nirvana, but and Buddhahood, Buddhahood. So that energy has itself become a body. Okay, that body must be organized by that kind of clear light, seeing emptiness. You're dwelling in there, but you have a body. That body has been organized, it's been organized, it's been presided over by that wisdom seeing emptiness. You're never coming back from there, but you have a body with it. And that body has a sounds. Okay. That sounds is become a mantras, and that sound is become Buddha. That sound itself is become Buddha because that sound is capable of travel. That sounds carry wherever sound goes, that the sound goes with that energy body, and wherever that sound energy goes, and there is a consciousness, that clear light mind is going with them. So that's why wherever Buddha's sound, there is Buddha's body, there is Buddha's mind. So that's why they are woven together like that. They are inextricably, they're inextricably, kind of entangled together like that. And it further in some tantra, and it goes to say that one entity, different expression. Tantra and system, one expression, different expression. You cannot actually separate any of those things from each other. They have become one. They have become one. That is the union. That is the ultimate union. We talk about union now, emptiness, bliss, union, and the clear light. The ultimate union is clear light and energy body union with, clear light union with energy body. That is the ultimate union. Blissfulness, emptiness, there's one union. And male and female energy, that union is kind of gross understanding, and compassion, loving kindness union is another union. But when it comes to another, one of the highest level union is clear light, the blissfulness and the voidness, that union. That union is one of the highest, next to the union of clear light, empty, blissfulness, seeing emptiness, union with energy body. That is the ultimate union. That means you were able to enlightened mind and enlightened body be union, and it's become one. Ultimately, it's become one. That's why Tantra says one but different expressions. One different expressions become sounds, energy body, and Buddha's mind. Okay, I hope I explained it. Okay. Yeah, looks like I explained it well. Oh yeah, open here. illusory body, yeah, that energy body. Gulu, that's the right word. You see, one has a magic one. Okay, yeah, that gulu. Gulu means illusory body, or that energy body is illusory body. So gulu, guma, lu, guma means illusory. Lu means body. So that is also translated as illusory body. It's a direct translation. But if you say illusory body, then it doesn't feel like real, but it's energy body. That energy body itself must be understood as illusory, because everything's illusory, right? That's why the illusory has been, kind of stressed in here. So, but you must understood it as a energy body itself. So we don't say energy body. Gulu doesn't necessarily literally translate as energy body, but it means that energy body. So it must be seen illusory. Okay. Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's already 12. Yeah, like I said, we don't have to, always, try to learn something new. Dharma is, as long as we are doing a great session, that's all right. So, yeah, I'm going to stop here and let's do the dedication prayers. And I'll call it one successful session. Wow. Okay. Yep. Okay. Oh, Gandhi Ravi Kobe Shinkazo, Penda Dewa Malu Juvene, Chirin Sewa, Tintin Janzo Ye, Shabe Sinde Padu, Tinjore, Janjo Sunjo Ramboche, Maje Pada Chichoshi, Chiwa Nyamba Mebaya, Kone Kondum Peware, In all my lives, may I never be without a true guru and enjoy the Dharma in its glory, accomplishing the qualities of the paths and levels. May I swiftly achieve the state of Vajradhara. Through the virtue of this goodness, may I obtain omniscience and overcome all adversity, thereupon liberating beings from the ocean of existence, which is rocked by the waves of birth, aging, sickness, and death. I dedicate all this virtue most sincerely in a way which makes it multiply, following the illustrious examples set by courageous Manjushri and Samantabhadra. By the grace of the Buddha, who is the Trikaya, by the grace of the immutable Dharma itself, and by the grace of the unwavering aspirations of the Sangha, may this dedication prayer be fulfilled just as it is. May the precious and the sublime bodhicitta not yet born be born, and that which has been born not decline but increase forever. May the precious and the sublime wisdom seen emptiness not yet born be born, and that which has been born not decline but increase forever. Okay, yeah.